Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again.
So that was around 3 a.m. America now waking up to an election result we have not seen in more than a century. Former President Trump once again becomes President-elect Trump, number 45 and now number 47, defeating Kamala Harris and capping a stunning political comeback. Don't know where you were last night or early this morning, but we're back at it. From New York, I'm Bill Hammer, and here we go again.
Yeah, and if you're in California just waking up, surprise! Hello, we are here again. Yes, I'm Dana Perino, and this is America's Newsroom. We had quite a night. We did. But the president had a huge night. At this moment, the Electoral College vote stands at 277 to 226. That is a clear and decisive win. Trump taking the stage after securing wins in several of those all-important swing states we've been telling you about. He addressed his supporters, rallying around a candidate who once again defied the odds, putting his victory in historical terms with a dose of divine intervention.
There's never been anything like this in this country. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible. This will forever be remembered as the day the American people regained control of their country. It was a historic realignment, uniting citizens of all backgrounds around a common core of common sense. We're going to make our country better than it ever has been. And I said that many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason. And that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness.
So now his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris, has yet to comment on the race. To our knowledge, she has not yet made a concession. We're told by her campaign that she will address the nation today. We're standing by for more word on that in a time. Don't have that as of now. As soon as they become available, we'll let you know what's happening, what we're learning on that. As for the electoral map, the votes in battlegrounds like Michigan are still being counted. That's also the case out west in Arizona, Nevada. We'll take you to the board and show you where they stand in a moment. Coming up here, Dana.
And in Congress, Republicans have won back the majority in the Senate. This will be key for President Trump getting his cabinet confirmed. Control of the House, it is still up for grabs.
So where to begin on this day of history? Peter Doocy reports from the White House. Bill Maloogian reports from Palm Beach, where a new political dawn is now upon us. Bill, good morning.
Bill, good morning to you. Look, there is no sugarcoating it. This was an outright rejection of the Biden-Harris administration and their policies. Donald Trump is on track to win both the popular vote and the Electoral College. Fox News was able to make the call just before 2 o'clock in the morning. A short time later, Trump went on to his victory stage here in West Palm Beach, and he thanked the coalition that now has him president-elect.
They came from all corners, union, non-union, African-American, Hispanic-American, Asian-American, Arab-American, Muslim-American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises.
And Trump's watch party here in Florida really kicked into high gear after he won the all-important battleground state of Pennsylvania. Just a short time before that, he won Georgia, North Carolina. It appears he's on track to win several other battleground states, maybe even win all of them. It was quite a different scene over at the Harris campaign watch party in D.C. Take a look at this. It turned into a ghost town over there. This was at Howard University. The crowd started shifting out once it became obvious that she had lost key battleground states, but then everybody left once the campaign got on stage and said she wouldn't be speaking last night. She kind of left everybody hanging and never even showed up to her own watch party. And back out here live, guys, ever since last night, my phone has been blowing up with texts from Border Patrol agents and ICE agents. They feel like they've gotten a morale boost. They say they feel like they're going to be able to do their jobs again once Trump takes office. As for VP Kamala Harris, the Trump campaign is telling Fox News, as of this morning, they still have not heard anything from Harris or her camp. Radio silence so far. Wow. We'll send it
Bill,
back to
you led the way reporting from the border for 4 years. Bill Maloogian now in Palm Beach. Thank you. Dana.
Let's go to Peter Doocy live from the White House. Is it quiet around there too, Peter?
It's quiet except for the guy doing the street sweeper, but he comes with the House. That has nothing to do with the candidates. You will hear him in about 10 seconds, though. And, Dana, we would play a bite of Vice President Harris last night about the results, but we don't have any. Last night, after the results were known, and shortly after, or rather, shortly before we called it, the results were becoming known after midnight, they sent a campaign co-chair out to say this.
We still have votes to count. We still have states that have not been called yet. We will continue overnight to fight to make sure that every vote is counted. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation.
Somebody else who hasn't spoken yet, President Joe Biden. We were told he was up there in the residence watching returns come in last night. Officials have read out a handful of calls that he made. A majority of them were to candidates in Delaware. He doesn't have anything else on his schedule for the rest of the week, and we don't know exactly when the vice president or Governor Walz are going to talk today, but we do expect her to accept the results, because last night officials who had gone dark for a few hours started texting me saying they saw the writing on the wall. That is why they were not as responsive. The campaign had a huge team of lawyers that were ready to mobilize and address any challenges, but it does not sound like they will be called upon. Dana.
All right, I'm going to be paying, well, we are going to be paying a lot of attention to what all spills out of the White House. Thank you so much, Peter.
So, Dana, on the board, you can say this was a night of history. It was a night of generational change, perhaps. We'll see about that over time. And it was a night where you can go to different places on this map that, frankly, a lot of people did not expect. Let me start here. This is Florida. This is Miami-Dade. They went Republican, and they went Republican for the first time at the presidential level since 1988. That's one data point. This is Osceola County along the I-4 corridor just south of Orlando, Florida. Osceola County went with Trump. There are, in the county itself, 50% Hispanic. Of the Hispanics, 30% are Puerto Rican. Remember all that stuff in the final 7-8 days going back to Madison Square Garden? 30% Puerto Rican in Osceola County. Up here in North Carolina, we were checking out this town and this county last night. It's rural. It also has a strong minority population, about 47% African American. This is Anson County. They have gone Republican twice since the 1890s. Second time. Out here along the border in Texas, another fascinating development. This is Starr County right here on this part of the border, right? Trump won it, okay? They have not voted for a Republican since 1876. That's how far-reaching this victory was for Trump last night. Stay down along the border, okay? You see all that red? This is 8 years ago in Hillary Clinton. See that? 4 years later, a bit of a mix there, and now, in 2024, it is almost all red along the border there in Texas. So you got these little data points. You got Hispanics, African Americans. You got the border issue. Puerto Ricans, right? They were so maligned in the past week of this campaign. They sure didn't vote like it last night. Let's move on over here to the board, bringing Harold Ford and Karl Rove. I think they got 45 minutes of sleep between the two of them, if you add it up. And gentlemen, thanks for being with us here
Let's
today.
be clear, we were in different hotels.
Yeah. All right,
I was at home, Carl.
Yeah, Harold was his gut belt.
Got it.
I live here.
Top line thought. Go.
Well, you mentioned Starr County, and it last voted for a Republican president in 1892 when Grover Cleveland is trying to get back in the White House and Benjamin Harrison is president. And do you know why it votes Republican then? Because it was a port, and the port inspector, the person who collected tariffs, wanted to keep his job. So he got all of his friends and neighbors to vote Republican. It is the county in America with the highest percentage of Hispanic population, the highest of any county in America, and it is also the county that has voted for the Democrat Party longer than any other county in America. No other county has had a record of being in the Democratic column from 1896 to today.
Call up number one, guys. Our Fox News voter analysis. Look at this on immigration. In 2020, 3% said it was the most important issue. Last night, Dana, it was 20%.
Yep.
Harold, what are you thinking now?
So good morning, and glad to be with you. Thanks for having me. Last night, I thought a lot about this over the last few hours. I couldn't sleep when I got home. I got home really late. And I think to myself, This was a rebuke last night of Democrats and Republicans, those of us who come from traditional aspects of our party. Donald Trump is asking, and more importantly, his supporters are asking, I think, the country to listen to them, listen to him. I've talked to a lot of Democrat friends this morning, and I've listened to them express concern and angst and disdain and even anger about where we are. And my only thinking is I thought about it, even prayed about it this morning, as I talked to my kids cooking breakfast this morning, taking them to school. How do we consider the architecture and options to address problems that people are really dealing with? I didn't see anger on the street this morning here in New York. I didn't hear or feel any kind of uncomfortableness. But something in our country is asking those of us, Carl and I come from traditional parts of our party, they're dead. Donald Trump is saying to the country and to the parties in many ways, and more importantly, his supporters, listen to us, respond to our problems, and address our problems in a very, very different way. My party's knee-jerk reaction is maybe Kamala Harris got this too quickly. Maybe she shouldn't have been the nominee. Maybe that's true.
Maybe she shouldn't have picked Tim Walz.
Or maybe she shouldn't have picked Tim Walz. Maybe she should have picked, maybe that's true. But something else is going on that I think we as a country have to listen to and be willing to respond to in a different way. And I don't know the answer this morning, Bill. Or Dana, but I know this, something has happened.
Yeah.
And we have to respect it, accept it, and figure out ways to move on.
Well, it'll be fun to do all that with you in the coming months. But I want to ask Carl about Kamala Harris's decision to not address her supporters, not to call President Trump,
wrong.
not to give him a chance to have an election night victory party. And what we just heard is that they radio silence. They know nothing from her.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Well, there must be a lot of bitterness there, and I don't blame her in a way. She thought she was going to win. I mean, they really were out there saying, we're going to take this whole thing. And look, she has not had the benefit of a long primary campaign and a long general election campaign. She was a presidential candidate for just over 100 days. Why is that a disadvantage? Because, look, if you get into this contest for month after month in early primary states, and you spend month after month then focused on the general election, you get to have an understanding of how gigantic an enterprise it is and how fortunate you are to be there, but there's no guarantee of success. And I think she came into this thing with a bang, and she thought she was going to win this thing handily, and she has not been prepared by the agony of a long campaign for this moment.
Two more things here. Right track, wrong track. This should have been the canary in the coal mine, right? Wrong direction in our Fox News voter analysis. Taken over a period of 7 or 8 days among more than 100,000 people in all 50 states. 70% say wrong direction. Here's another thing. Among Hispanics, Trump gains 6 points. Among black voters, he gains 7. And probably more among black men. Harold.
It goes again to the point. I think people are hurting in many ways. They're concerned about not only economic security issues here at home, but national security issues. And I think are eager and hungry for a different set of answers and a different set of thinking. For those who thought that an African-American woman would gain the support of African-Americans just by definition and by virtue, they're just wrong. Donald Trump has introduced something in our politics that he probably introduced years ago, but we are just now fully accepting and understanding it. So again, I say to my party and even say to those in the other party, we've got to figure out ways to address this and deal with him, work with him, and more importantly, work with the people and address the aspirations of those who supported him, which when we look at this, we're going to find that he attracted a coalition of people unlike a Republican has attracted for many, many years. And what you said over there on the board and Carl affirmed is only another illustration of that, an affirmation.
Very thoughtful. Thank you, Harold. Thank you, Carl.
It was great to be with you guys last night. What a team. Really, really great.
You
and
too, Dan.
I'm awake.
Bud and Martha did a great job. All of us did a great job.
Yeah, it was terrific.
Hats off
Michael
to them.
Whatley is going to have some things to say. He's from the RNC. Watch here.
We see a very strong early vote turnout. We see strong in the absentee ballots across the country right now. We are way ahead of where we were in 2016 or in 2020. Right now, it looks, when you combine the early vote and the absentee votes, we're going to have an outright win in North Carolina going into Election Day. The same thing in Nevada, same thing in Arizona. So these numbers that we're looking at, the real metrics, we like what we're seeing. It puts us in a very good position to win this thing on Election Day. And we're going to work every single day.
Just to be clear, you're saying going into Election Day, you will have an outright lead?
That's what it looks like
in
right
North
now.
Carolina.
North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada.
Arizona and Nevada, okay.
And the RNC chairman, Michael Whatley, made that prediction just last week with us, and he called it. Donald Trump taking North Carolina early on in the night. Nevada and Arizona are getting close, but they're still too close to call. In Nevada, we're looking at, it could be decisive, but we're just waiting. Is that right, Bill?
Yeah, Nevada's up 5, favor him. I think it's hard for it to make up based on what I'm seeing out of Clark County.
Okay.
Same for Arizona, Maricopa County as it stands right now.
Okay, great. And Michael Whatley is here with us now. First, congratulations to you.
Good morning.
I know that it's a hard fought, and you absolutely nailed your numbers. Tell me a little bit more about how you guys were able to figure that out and why the Kamala Harris team apparently got it so wrong and, as Carl was saying, didn't prepare her for the possibility of this loss.
Well, look, I mean, we saw what we saw because it was the numbers that were coming out of the voting process, the number of absentee ballots that were requested and returned, the early votes that were cast. We layered that on top of voter registration numbers and the polling numbers to have a really good sense of where we needed to be and the conversations that we needed to have. But on top of everything, you have to remember Donald Trump. He was the guy that was out there talking direct family, every voter in every one of these battleground states. You know, we did 3 rallies on Friday, 3 rallies on Saturday, 3 rallies on Sunday, 4 rallies on Monday, you know, and nobody worked harder than Donald Trump to connect directly to the voters about the issues that they cared about. And that's why we see, you know, all 7 of these battleground states are going to end up with Donald Trump.
Yeah. Have you considered yet the realignment that we watched in real time as of last night? Not just with the states, but perhaps inside those numbers within the states themselves?
Yeah, this is a fundamental realignment of American politics, and Donald Trump has built a common sense coalition. You know, you look at the numbers that we saw, a historic shift with black voters, Hispanic voters, Asian American voters. You know, that's because of 2 things. One, we see that those communities are affected by gasoline prices, grocery prices, and housing prices that go through the roof when Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote on inflationary spending, right? They also do not like the illegal immigration, the fact that every state is a border state. And then Donald Trump reached out to those voters. He went on alternative platforms. He went to the National Association of Black Journalists. He did events in downtown Philadelphia, downtown New York. He went to the Bronx. He went to Chicago. He went to Atlanta. You know, Donald Trump took every opportunity to talk to these voters about the issues that they care about.
And Michael, could you speak, because you're the chairman of the RNC, and I know obviously the presidency, winning that was the most important. But with that comes the United States Senate. We're waiting on the U.S. House. But Karl Rove was just telling me that the Republicans have done very well in the state houses across the country. And so when you're talking about a political realignment, it's not just happening at the White House, all across the country?
Absolutely, across the country. This is Donald Trump's party, and we are very happy that there's going to be a focus on America, and there's going to be a focus on American families.
Sir, thanks for being with us, and your prediction was correct. Michael Whatley,
congrats to you.
Totally ecstatic. There's nobody, in my opinion, that can get things back the way they were 4 years ago.
We love everything he stands for, and we're so anxious to have great leadership again.
So there you have a sample of the first reaction from Americans this morning to the historic political comeback of now President-elect Donald Trump.
Plus, the Harris campaign reeling after a major loss in Pennsylvania. We'll be right back.
Okay, you've got a raw vote total of 91,000. Wayne is the biggest county outstanding, but you've got a lot of the vote in here now, just about 10% still out there. I don't know if she can catch him in Michigan. Let's say she can't. Same for Arizona. I was checking this out here. Raw vote total 104,000. Maricopa's where you get all your votes, 60% of the state. He's got a lead there, right? 2.3 points. Same for Nevada. Here is a 60,000 vote lead. It's almost 5 points. Clark County, Las Vegas, where you get 70% of the total vote statewide. I don't know if she can catch. So where does that take us? Let me go ahead and do the path of 270 that we're doing late at night. Dana, I just think right now there's a really good chance once Alaska chips in here, Michigan stays the way it is, Arizona stays the way it is, Nevada stays the way it is. You're at 312. Right. That's an electoral landslide, as they say, okay? Very important for Trump to have this. You think about the number of people who consider him a divisive political leader. You get an electoral landslide, you win the national vote in all likelihood, you win more blacks and more Hispanics, and that enables you to govern more effectively once you go back to D.C. on the 20th of January.
Fascinating. All right, Bill, thank you so much. Well, there's a lot happening in the next several weeks before Trump returns to office. Battleground states will begin certifying election results this month. They want to bring in Kerry Urban and Andy McCarthy. So I also want to get to Trump's legal battles with you guys. So let's take you through the certification of election results real quickly. Just on the dates, November 22nd, November 25th, and December 1st. You can see these here. This is when Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, all of that happens. And then if you look at this calendar, you got the Electoral College vote December 17th, a new Congress seated January 3rd. Of course, we know January 6th. That's when the Electoral College votes are counted. And then January 20th is Inauguration Day. Kerry, to me, given this decisive result, all of that should go very smoothly?
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, there's a lot of talk about how this decisive victory for Donald Trump was an indictment of the Biden administration and, you know, the last 4 years and all of that. I would say it's an indictment of the American justice system, really. And, you know, for the last 8 years, we have watched attorneys general, we have watched state and federal prosecutors lower the standard of justice and abuse their positions, do everything they can do to get Donald Trump. You know, people have characterized this as a lawfare campaign. The reason we know that's not just a right-wing talking point is because with only one exception, all of the cases they've brought have been these untested legal theories. In other words, they have tried to apply the law against Donald Trump in ways they have never applied against anyone in their states or in this country. And they dramatically failed. So I will say, while Donald Trump was a big winner last night, the justice system was a big loser. Wow. And I think it's going to take years for the justice system to recover its reputation in all of this.
Very interesting. 3 weeks from yesterday, Judge Merchan here in Manhattan was set to sentence Donald Trump. And he's got some options. One includes prison time.
Well,
what happens now?
There's a few steps to play before that happens, right? So a week from yesterday, a week after the election, Merchan is supposed to decide the immunity issue. Now, if past his prologue, he will decide against Trump. He's reliably ruled against Trump on everything. But immunity is supposed to be instantly appealable. So I think what Trump will try to do is go to the appellate courts in New York and federal courts if he needs to try to get the sentencing put off. He may or may not succeed with that, but the felonies, no matter how they portray them to the jury, are not serious enough that he would get instantly detained under New York law. So he should get bail pending appeal. The appeal will take a couple of years to play out. And I anticipate that the Justice Department, it really should be the Biden-Harris Justice Department, but certainly the Trump Justice Department will come in and argue in the courts in New York that under the Supremacy Clause, that case should be suspended until after he's out of office.
What about Kerry's point about re-examining law in America and how much of a setback it is?
Well, this is why the popular vote is so important. I mean, lawfare is a failure, but I think we can now say the public has pronounced it to be an un-American failure. And if it's a chapter we never see again, the country will be a lot better. And as Kerry says, the system will be a lot better.
Okay, stand by, Andy. Stand by, Kerry. Take you down to Wall Street. Here we go. Opening bell. And when it goes, we are looking at a major jump in the Dow 30, the S&P 500, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ. This was up 3% overnight for a whopping 1,300 points. You might remember 8 years ago, futures were way down at midnight because most people thought Trump was going to lose. And then when he won, the futures went down even further. But before the sun came up that next morning, the futures popped because they saw the potential of tax reform and fewer regulations. Yep. And if you listen carefully to the Joe Rogan podcast last week, the thing that Trump talked about the most about what he learned about government during his 4 years in office about economic policy is that it really wasn't the tax reform or some other policy. It was cutting through the regulations that enabled American business to prosper. And what he said is that he found that regulation was the true engine driver of the American economy when he was in office.
Yes, and I think about when you had Larry Summers, of course, telling the White House, Biden-Harris White House early on, you guys, this Inflation Reduction Act is not going to reduce inflation, it's going to fuel it. And since May of 21, people have said inflation is their biggest issue. And what the other thing I think the market is showing, and you're more the market guy than I am, but businesses and investors want certainty. Yeah. And they did not want the Green New Deal. And you look at some of these automakers who, just think about in Michigan, the week before the election, they had to announce they were going to stop production on the F-150.
Yeah, Ford.
I mean, come on.
How deep red, white, and blue can you get than Ford?
Right. So a resetting there as well.
Yeah, so we'll watch this. We'll see how it goes throughout the day. Then we'll get in later with our money people to tell us what he does on tax reform, right? I mean, that's going to expire next year.
Well, he's also going to have the Senate and
the House.
Maybe the House.
And yeah, and a good chance. And if so, you know, what's your policy going forward on that? And also the issue of regulation. Okay, that's that for now. Put that to the side. And late last night, check this out, too.
This is a shellacking for the Democrats tonight.
It was a total misread, sort of by the coastal strategists, when it comes to how to target working class voters of color.
Shocked Democrats are trying to figure out where Vice President Harris went wrong. And now they're pointing.
احمد اقفل الموبايل عصبتني. طب ما هنعمل ايه طيب؟ ما احنا في عز الصحراء اهو. امتحانك كده هيروح عليك.
السلام عليكم على احلى ناس في الدنيا، عاملين ايه؟ يا رب تكونوا بخير. طيب النهارده بقى في فلوج حلو قوي قوي قوي، وفي نفس الوقت في حاجه تانية هقول لكم عليها في نص الفيديو. النهارده يا جماعه اول يوم في امتحانات فاطمه، ربنا يا رب معاها ان شاء الله ويوفقها وينجحها كده وتقفل الامتحان، واي حد عنده امتحانات الفتره دي ان شاء الله يعدي الفتره بتاعت الامتحانات على خير ويحقق اللي هو نفسه فيه ويطلع كده من الامتحان مجبور الخاطر. مش عارف، حاسس ان انتوا ولادي والله، اللي هو اتخرجت بقى خلاص. بدعي لاخواتي وبدعي لاصحابي كلهم، ربنا ان شاء الله يا جماعه معاكم ومع الناس كلها اللي في امتحانات وبالذات بتوع ثانويه عامه. النهارده بقى هيكون اول يعني فريش وقادرين تروحوا وتيجوا، مش هتكونوا مهبطين بمعنى اصح حتى لو انتوا بردانين. مش عارف ايه النصايح اللي انا بقولها على الصبح دي نصايح ماما معجزه ولا ايه؟ طيب فتحنا بقى السندوتشات. الحيره بتاعت كل يوم الواحد يعمل ايه؟ لا هي مش بتاعت كل يوم يا جماعه، عشان محدش يفتكر بس ان انا كل يوم بقف في المطبخ، لا ده انا عشان بس الفتره دي مراجعات عندها وكده، فايه قلت اظبط الدنيا. ايه جبنه كيري، وهي بتحب البسطرمه برضو ولانشون، يعني نعمل لها ميكس سندوتشات كده على الصبح. مش عارف في حلاوه ولا لا، الحلاوه دي برضو بتفتح المخ يا جماعه. حتى اذان العصر ايه بيقدم اهو. انا عايز اعمل لي كوبايه شاي عشان حاسس ان ايه لسه المشوار محترم لحد الجامعه بتاعتها، فنعمل لي كوبايه شاي انا كمان. انا مش من حقي ولا مش من حقي؟ بس كل الناس بقى يا جماعه تقول لي هتعمل ايه في راس السنه. كل واحد هيعمل ايه في راس السنه، في اللي هيقضيه مع اصحابه، في اللي هيقضيه مع مراته او خطيبته، وفي اللي هيقضيه مع اهله. قولوا لي تحت في الكومنتات. ودلوقتي يا جماعه زي ما انتم شايفين عملنا واحد بسطرمه وواحد لانشون وقطعه جبنه كيري وزبادي كده عشان يفتح نفسها ويساعد على الهضم، والسكر بقى مع البتاع. عارفين يا جماعه والله يعني وانا بعمل السندوتشات دي حاسس ان في انشكاح كده، اللي هو في حاجه جديده كده عليا او في حياتي عموما، ان انا بعمل فطار لحد. انا من عادتي اصلا لما كنت قاعد مع والدي ووالدتي، يعني انا مستحيل ان انا كنت اخش المطبخ ده، او اخر ان كنت اخش المطبخ مثلا اعمل شاي مش عارف ايه يعني. لكن حته ان انا اقعد اعمل الاكل والتفاصيل وادقق في الكلام ده والله ما كانت بتحصل. بس الحمد لله يعني سبحان مغير الاحوال. اعمل لي بقى كوبايه الشاي بتاعتي ونادي عليها اشوف خلصت ولا لا. وزي ما قلت لكم يا جماعه في بدايه الفيديو ان شاء الله هيكون في مقلب في الفيديو ده. طيب ازاي هنخلي العربيه تعطل؟ انا يا جماعه مجرد ما بطل العربيه بتاعتي العربيه مش هتدور غير في حاله واحده، ان طول ما مفتاح العربيه جوه العربيه هتدور. لو المفتاح ده بره العربيه مش هتدور. فهحاول بقى ان انا اخلي العربيه ما تدورش طول ما انا بره العربيه، وفي نفس الوقت الفيديو هيكون شغال عادي جدا اكنه فلوج بتاع اول يوم امتحان عندها، ومفيش اي حاجه ومش هتشك في اي حاجه. فدي كانت انسب طريقه ان احنا نعرف نعمل بيها المقلب بتاعها. هي المفروض ان هي لحد دلوقتي بتلبس، مش عارف البنات دايما بتقعد بالساعه والساعه ونص، يعني ربنا يعين الناس كلها والله. هي مش قد المقام بس يعني عشان بس ايه تبتدي ان هي تفوق كده. يا حاجه حاضر يلا ياما بقالنا ساعتين. وراك امتحان يا ماما. يغدي على القمر. ايه القمر ده؟ بصي بقى فطار كده بدائي.
تسلم ايد الحلوين. يا لهوي يا لهوي.